Yeah, what up, YouTube? It's your boy Zai. You already know what time it is, man. But I just wanted to get into something real quick. I've been seeing a lot of chatter on this thing called the dark web, and for a lot of people that don't know about the dark web, it's just it's one of those sites where it's multiple sites. Pretty much you can find everything from snuff films, which who's to know if they're actually real or not. It's, you know, you can go in there and watch all types of stuff, but I would really warn against going on it unless you know how to maneuver as far as like dealing with the dark web, because you could in fact invite something that you're not necessarily used to, and you'll have a hard time getting rid of it. I'll just give you an example. You know, there was a person on there that, you know, they didn't really know what they're doing. They didn't know about the whole system. Even myself, like, I don't necessarily go on by myself. I have friends that are savvy when it comes to that. But, you know, something along the lines had happened. The dude clicked on a link. He went somewhere he wasn't supposed to go. He was watching something. The camera turned on his, and then he was in fact being watched by somebody, and to this day he really don't know who it is. I guess whoever did it was some sort of hacker that wasn't really too interested in paying too much attention to him. They're just probably seeing if they can do it. But anyways, so, you know, the dark web, you can find anything from dope to guns to whatever, and literally get it shipped in. It's been happening all over the world, and it's been happening for quite some time. If you don't believe me, there's channels out there that primarily focus on the dark web and what you can find on it. And I'm not telling you this so you'll go and search it, because like I said, I will warn against it, because you never know what you're going to find, and you never know who's going to be watching on the other end while you're watching them. Now, with this being said, I did find something on the dark web that I find somewhat disturbing. It's a new movement, and it's probably been out for quite some time. It's called Mexi Nazis or Mexican Nazis, whatever. They have their own insignias, emblems, and then some of them are in comparison to Nazi memorabilia, as far as, like, you know, you had the boats with the eagle and all that. Well, all they did was switch a few things, and it's actually a part of the Mexican flag with the eagle and then the boats. You know what I mean? The eagle is not, you can tell if you look at it that it's not the same as you know, Nazis used their eagle, which we all know where theirs came from and who they stole it from. But I'm not going to go into that. I'm just going to say it's somewhat disturbing that people have failed to it has not only failed but stooped to those lows. Now, you have a lot of people in the community that's giving pushback as far as they're not really willing to claim their European ancestry, as far as like the Spaniard intervention, or the Spaniards raping their people and in fact making a race out of it. You know what I mean? But I just find it disturbing. Like I said, that I would get on this channel and I would talk about things that were different than the norm, and this is one of those things I think people really need to pay attention. Like, you have all these people right now up in arms and ready to go to war with each other over politics and things that are taking place in the political circle, but they're failing to pay attention to those who are on the ground actually putting in the footwork. Now, I said this in a prior video, that if, you know, if there was such thing as a race war and people were intending to go to war with the Caucasians, that it would be a bloodbath, just if simply for the fact that the majority of the population is unprepared, and not only unprepared, unwilling to really stand true to their convictions. And it's been proven many times. I mean, you see it right now. People get in a little bit of trouble and cop out and bring down whole organizations just due to the fact that they weren't what they said they were. They thought they were really willing to go that route, but in the end they realized that it wasn't their life and they didn't want it. So now they're turning state evidence, they're doing things along that line. It's the same as the streets. You have a lot of people that talk big talk, you know. You have people that don't necessarily lean on themselves, but they bring other people into it because that's their safe circle, you know. I mean, that's something that they feel in the end will be the savior. And I see this on the street right now. You have people that know if it ever went down, who they would have to rely on, and these are people that necessarily wouldn't rely on us, but they, you know, they tend to look towards the gangbangers because they're like, oh, the gangsters are ruthless, they're willing to do this, they're willing to go to this extreme. And it's true, most gangsters are willing to go to that extreme because it's just already in us to be a certain way. We've been programmed, or like I said, it was just in us. But nowadays the conviction is not as strong, and in a small pocket of these groups. But don't get me wrong, if all in all war came to war, most people would be active participants, because most Southerners, Crips, Bloods, GDs, BDs, Stones, and the list can go on and on, depending on what side of the equator you're on, but are willing to go to war, but they're ill prepared. If we were to have something along the lines, like I said, as a race war, most people would be ill prepared. They wouldn't be able to really truly defend themselves, because they're not necessarily trained in guerrilla warfare. They're not trained in going house to house, and you know, and some of them are just unwilling to go to those extremes. But you know, I don't want to stray too far from what I was saying. Is trying to make an example of the unwillingness of people to stand for themselves, you know what I mean, unless it's on the race thing. Now when you look at this, it's one of those things that you got to kind of scratch your head and really think about it, like, where would this come about? Now, you know, when I was talking to my friend, he said, you know, maybe it's the things that's taking place with the street vendors and things along that line. And I'll just be 100% brutally honest. Like, the majority of the people killing their own is their own people. Like, whatever safeguards have been put in place to keep Hispanic gangsters from killing each other is failing. A lot of people are not paying attention to that. They, you know, you have the ones that are older that are looking for peace. You know, they've already been through the drama, and they're looking to solidify something that would keep them from killing their own people. But for the most part, you have a lot of younger individuals, and as well as older, that refuse to submit to certain things, because their mind has been set to war, and that's all they see until they find a commonplace and realize that it's not going to get them nowhere. Now, I say all that to say this: when people go and they blame a particular group for doing all these heinous acts, you have to look within, because in truth, most races take advantage of their own. Like, blacks will take advantage of their own. Hispanics definitely take advantage of their own. The only ones, like, you'll have whites, you know, they're more they're not perfect, but they're a lot different. You know, they're more likely to help out their own, regardless of their background and their situation, because they want to see their own prevail. But in most groups, they don't think along those lines. It's more you know, selfishness, and that's what I see with this whole things that I'm seeing on the dark net, as far as, you know, people willing to coin themselves Mexican Nazis in order to, I don't know what it is, because to be honest, when you read their rhetoric, it doesn't really say anything about harming anybody else. It's just the name Mexican Nazis. Like, that has to be the most twisted thing that I've heard in a long time. Don't get me wrong, when I was incarcerated, I did run into a certain group of homies that were calling themselves like Mexican Nazis or whatever, and they were just homies that had been you know, some that have been through major wars with other blacks, some street wars, and some people were just hurt by the fact that they lost people to African Americans, so they chose to forego a lot of things and implement this whole way of thinking. They're basically the same as Nazi, but just in a Mexican form. Now, like I said, when you read the rhetoric of these guys on the net, they're basically doing what any other group is a sort of, you know, like a black power, a Mexican power. But and you know, I get that. Like, that's, you know, people take pride in their race, and as they should. But when you put Nazi on it, it's something entirely different. It's just like an oxymoron. Like, it makes no sense. I mean, don't get me wrong. When Nazi Germany was going at it with the United States and other countries, they did try to recruit Mexico because they were at our back door. But Mexico said no. For one, Mexico has always taken in slaves. For two, if Germany lost, they knew exactly what was going to happen to the country, and so they chose to stay out of it in that sense. Even though a lot of Mexican dudes did fight in that war, and some that will probably never go, will never be praised for it, you know what I mean? But Yeah, that's just one of the things I want to talk about, you know what I mean, as far as this whole thing. Like, the dark net is something is tricky. Like I said, you can go in there and you can find all types of things. You know, people do all types of illegal activities, and though it's supposedly policed, it's not. People are bouncing off multiple IPs. Like, it's just, you have to know what you're doing. And like I said, me and myself, like, I've read books on certain things, but it's not enough to help me when it comes to the dark web. But that's just one of the things people need to watch out for. You know, outside of the norm, you know, you have people on TikTok and other platforms saying that, you know, we need to prepare, we need to be ready, and we need to do this. You do, but understand that it's not necessarily coming from the enemy that you thought would be the enemy. A lot of it is coming from within. You have a lot of subdivision groups that think along a certain lines, and they're willing to go to certain extremes. To be honest, it's not even the whites nowadays you got to worry about. You have other groups that are far worse than any Caucasian male that you would run into that's a racist. Yeah, you have, out of 20 white dudes could be all racist, and probably maybe one of them would actually do something to you, and other ones would only join in if they're, you know, that fever that you know, when you see like a dog on a piece of meat. Like, but to be solo by themselves and willing to do certain things, no. But you have other races out here now that they don't need to be provoked. They're looking for certain issues, which is funny because a lot of us suffer the same plight and go through the same things, and I don't know. It's one of those things. Like I said, this is just one of those videos I'm going to sit and talk about. But, you know, I will be uploading next week, starting Zod's Vendetta TV. So I will be dropping a link on one of my videos when I'm actually gonna make the episodes known. The first one is just kind of, you know, me playing around, but I will get more serious. I will get deeper into the go down the rabbit hole if need be. But yeah, people, just pay attention, man. Pay attention to what's out there. You don't believe me? Go look up, search up Mexican Nazis, and I'm sure something will pop up. Maybe you'll even see their memorabilia. Maybe some of you want their memorabilia, or, you know, you want their insignias and stuff. Maybe some of you think along the lines. I've seen it on Instagram. You know, you see one thing and then the whole world turns racist, you know what I mean? But it's just one of those things that come with the territory. For those that are grown, we already know that it's time to push past that, and that's the only way to really get anything in this world, is to push past that and find some sort of unity, race-wise. Gang-wise, I'm not even tripping. People are going to do what they do. It's always going to be that way. But, you know, people should find some sort of common ground, because at the end of the day, it's not even the whites that we got to worry about. It's just people that have false intentions and a willingness to go out and do bad things. With that being said, I'm your boy Zai. You already know what time it is, man. Hopefully you enjoy your day. You like what you hear, man. Like, subscribe, drop a comment. If you're my hater, that's cool. Go ahead and drop the comment. If you're a supporter, man, I got a lot of things coming up that I'm hoping you guys can be a part of. And, you know, here you go with Zod on this next journey. With that being said, man, enjoy your day, and I'm out.